Hello, welcome to Spirit of Life. My name is Geraldine Lee, your host, and our guest is Barbara Kirsch. She's one of the leaders of St. John the Baptist prayer group in Ferntree Gully. Welcome.
Welcome to you too.
Yeah,
it's lovely to be with you again, Geraldine.
I know, after all these years,
yes.
Barbara. And Barbara, you've got an amazing positive attitude. How did you have this positive attitude to life?
Well, I think I had an experience in South Australia where somebody prayed for me and it changed my life totally. And as a result, not there and then, but over time, I believe that you have to have a very positive attitude to life, no matter what your circumstances are. Even if it's something that goes wrong, you can learn from that. And you've got to be grateful for the good things that happen to us in life as well. So, I always look on, as they say, on the bright side of life.
Yes. And what's your background that led you towards faith in God?
Well, I used to go to Mass every Sunday, and I went to South Australia to a wedding. But at that stage I'd already travelled around the world a lot, and I knew how to get to Mass on a Sunday. But this was South Australia 43 years ago, and I went down to the desk and there was nobody there because I just wanted to order a taxi, ask them where the Catholic Church was, and that led to me going to this barbecue because the wedding was the day before. And this good-looking guy, you've got to remember, I wasn't 82 then, I was 40.
Oh, wow.
And he said, I apologise for being late, but he said what's actually happened is that I went to Mass and that wasn't till later this morning. And I am an extrovert, so I called out with all these people there, if only I knew that yesterday I would have come to Mass with you, because there was nobody manning the desk. And he came and sat next to me. It's a very long story, but he prays for me, and that was it. He said, you shall go to the four corners of the earth, you shall preach my word, and the Lord's going to give you a gift of healing and prophecy.
Wow.
And I'm looking at this man as if he had 10 different heads. And he said, you're gregarious. I had to go home and look up the dictionary to find out is that a good thing or a bad thing.
Yes.
And so that totally changed my life. And I was at my first prayer meeting, which was the Body of Christ, on the Tuesday, and on the following Friday night I was at another prayer meeting, and the following Thursday night in the next week I was with the Pentecostals and the pastor prayed for me.
Wow.
And really and truly my life's never looked backwards.
Wow.
Since that time. So everybody give your life to Jesus.
That's right. What was your self-esteem like before you became a Christian and then after?
Well, I have to tell you, nobody believes this, but up until the age of 30, I was a very quiet person.
Wow.
And I can remember we were in Apex and they'd have dinners. And so you'd have sherries at the front door, and then you'd go in and you'd have your soup and your main, but you had to change for your sweets. I used to sit there, I wouldn't change, because I thought, no, I don't want to get used to other people. And then they'd say to me, you haven't changed, Barbara, and I'd say, oh, well, I'm having all new people at this table. So that's the difference.
Yeah.
Now they wouldn't be able to get a word in edgewise, but then they had all the words. So that's what changed me.
Wow.
And I also had a job at Kmart, and I was on the service desk and using a microphone all day long.
Yes.
And when I went to head office, they had to amputate the microphone because I became very attached.
Yes. What about your character, like, is in a sense of your relationship with Jesus? Does the relationship with Jesus give you a strong identity and strong self-esteem?
Well, of course, he's always there. You know, so no matter what your problems are,
Yes.
you've always got your best friend that you can go to and you can say, you know, I've got this problem, I don't know what I'm going to do. And somehow or other, a thought will come into your mind, you go, yes, I should try that. And so, not always, because sometimes we have to do the hard yards.
Yes.
And, you know, the Lord says, pick up your cross and follow me.
Yes.
And I don't know anybody who's not carrying a cross.
Yeah.
We all carry crosses, but it's lighter if you do it with Jesus.
Yes. Oh, that's fantastic. And what is it about Christians with the cross? What does it mean for those who are not Christians?
Well, for those who are not Christians, there are a lot of people that I've made the mistake and thought that they are Christians because they've got the biggest cross you can ever see in your life, but they have no idea what it stands for. And for us, I think Easter's the perfect time for that, that we, you know, we realise that Jesus had the agony in the garden. And I've got something I have to do today, which is a bit agonising after this. So I just think, well, Jesus has already been through that.
Yes.
He agonised. Imagine, he knew what he was going to go through. And then I always picture him on a cross that's like a raw tree, because I don't think it was this smooth cross like we have Jesus on this cross here. I think... And his back had been ripped to pieces.
Yeah.
And here he is now. He's forced back onto that cross, and I think there'd be splinters going in. And then, of course, I've seen the nails in Switzerland.
Yeah, wow.
They're huge nails like that went through, whether some believe the hand, some believe the wrists.
Yes. On that note, we may go for a break, but that's very inspiring. You've been watching Spirit of Life. Stay with us and we'll be back after the break. Hello. Welcome back to Spirit of Life. My name is Geraldine Lee, your host, and our guest is Barbara Kirsch. She's one of the leaders of St. John the Baptist prayer group in Ferntree Gully. Welcome back.
Thank
Barbara.
you, Geraldine.
You were sharing about how the cross and the identity of Christ, how that helps you in your self-esteem.
Well, because the price has been paid. When Jesus died on the cross, he paid for our sins. He paid for all the trials and tribulations that we go through. The price was paid. And that to me is very reassuring.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that because we know Jesus paid the price, and I know there has been some groups that I've been in, and they just think, oh, well, Jesus has paid the price, so I can commit as much sin as I like. And I know one group that I went along with my daughter, and the pastor was saying, well, no matter what you do, God forgives you. And that is true. God does forgive you.
Yes.
Because all we have to do is ask for forgiveness. So that's fair enough. But what I said to this person was, well, okay, what about if you don't ask for forgiveness? She said, no, you still go into heaven. And I said, well, I'm sorry, I don't believe that, because I don't want to be in heaven with somebody who's murdered someone, hasn't said they're sorry. They will be forgiven. There's no two ways. If they ask. But if they don't ask, then who wants to be in a heaven where we've got murderers and drug addicts and all the rest? We don't want to be there. So we have to live a life, but none of us are free of sin. We're all sinners.
That's right.
And so that just means
Yeah.
that we have to keep
Yeah.
saying, I'm sorry, Lord. I'm
Yes.
sorry. And I
Yes.
know I go to the Lord and I go, oh, it's me again and I'm sorry again. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Lord.
Yes.
But
But
we do have to keep saying we're sorry.
Yes, and I mean drug addicts.
And try not to do it again.
Yes.
That's the important part.
Yes. I suppose. You know, I have a few friends who are ex-drug addicts, and they said that you turn away from the drug, but you follow Jesus, and that gives them the strength to stay away from the addictions. And we all, to some extent, idolize either food or alcohol or our clothes or our sports cars or whatever it is.
Yes.
But that doesn't give us the strength of, we'll never feel good enough without Jesus, because Jesus is the one who washes our guilt away. Would you believe that?
I do. And I just think that there are, probably some people might think this is a bit strange, but when I first came in, I used to go to confession and I have the same, this is how I put it, but I've got a bit of a warped sense of humour, go with the same shopping list every time I went. Yes, I did this 6 times, I did this 8 times. And I just thought to myself, I can't keep doing this. I have to work on this. And today it's 43 years.
Wow.
So last March, 43 years since I found the Lord. So today I've got a different shopping list because I worked on those things. And I don't do those things anymore. But I've discovered I've got other things.
We all do.
So you never get through the list, and I've got this theory, and I could be totally wrong, and the theory is this, that you meet people and they're older or even younger, and they're beautiful, beautiful people, and I often think to myself, I think they're ready to step off the planet because they're probably going to go straight into heaven.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't think that about myself at all. So all pray for me if anything happens.
That's right. Well, it's better to be proud of our humility than humbled, better to be humbled by our pride than proud of our humility.
Yes, it's so true.
And you've suddenly been an inspiration to me, the way you love people and the way you look at the half full rather than the half empty, Barbara.
That's true, and I do love people. And my daughter at my 80th said, and there was this person and I loved them and they loved me back, and she started it off because she said, that's what I always hear my mother say.
Yeah.
Oh, I love this person. I just met them today and they're really lovely and I really love them. And she said, but you love everyone, so it's not really, all that great to be loved by you
because it's not special.
You just love everybody. But I've done it all my life, even at work.
I know.
People who, I just remember the day I left and my office was filled with flowers. It looked like it was a florist shop. And I looked at the names and it was amazing because the Sikhs who were IT had, just about every one of them had sent me flowers.
Wow.
So I went round to them and I said, how come?
Yeah.
And they said, you always treated us so well.
Yeah.
And I said, doesn't everybody? And they said, no.
Yes.
People can be really rude and hurtful to us. And then there were homosexuals. And so I said to them, I'm just so rapt that you sent me flowers. And they said, you treated us exactly the same as everybody else.
And that's how God loves us.
Yes. And then I thought,
Unconditionally.
I just couldn't imagine that people wouldn't just naturally do this. But this is our background in God, because this is what He would have done.
Yes.
And this is what we're meant to do.
Yes. Well, it's the love of Christ that urges us on to love people that we don't understand, that we, or we can judge them, but God doesn't judge, and God accepts and loves.
And how wonderful is that? We don't have to judge anyone.
Yes.
I think that's wonderful. That's why we can just love.
Yes, and on that note, we'll go for our next break, but it's wonderful. You've been watching Spirit of Life, Stay with us and we'll be back after the break. Welcome back to Spirit of Life. My name is Geraldine Lee, your host, and our guest is Barbara Kirsch. She's one of the leaders of the prayer group St. John the Baptist, Ferntree Gully. Welcome back, Barbara.
Thank you, Geraldine.
It's great to see you. You know, we're like old friends.
Yes, we are.
And you're not only someone who passionately loves people, but you passionately love babies, and you've been involved in the pro-life movement.
Yes. Also, I'm a counsellor.
Uh-huh.
And unfortunately, women who do have abortions, nobody realises that it affects them for the rest of their life. It's a very serious thing. So even at the time when perhaps their boyfriend says, no, I don't want this baby, and they go into it, later on in life, it comes back. And it's a very painful thing. And so therefore, not only, of course, the loss of the baby, which is very, very sad, and I've even met women who've never been able to have babies again. I even met one woman, when her baby was born, was screaming and screaming for 3 weeks.
Wow.
And I was asked to go and pray for the baby. And then the Lord gave me a word, and he said abortion. And I asked the mother, and she started to scream, and her husband had just been to the pharmacy.
Right.
And he said, what's going on? And she said, she's accused me of having an abortion.
Oh.
And I said, no, I haven't accused you. And he said, we've got to do something about this baby.
Wow.
And he said, what did you get? I said, the baby is frightened to sleep because the mother killed the baby before it.
Oh, I see.
And I prayed, and that baby slept for 24 hours.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, there's dire effects. People have no idea how dire these effects are on themselves, on their future babies, and they've got to live with it.
Oh, wow. So when do you think life begins? Because some people say, oh, if you have an abortion, 20 weeks, then it's not a baby, or, or when it's 12 weeks, or what do Christians believe about that?
Right at the moment of conception.
Oh, wow.
Right at that very moment.
Life begins.
Yes, I do believe that.
So it's quite sad today, because people can have abortions just a few hours before the birth, isn't it?
I know. Well, my husband Mark and I, we spent 3 months, just on 3 months at Parliament House, listening to these people that wanted the law to go through, and unfortunately it did go through. And I just said, Lord, please forgive them. They really don't know what they're doing.
Yes.
You know, our mother said that she is holding back Jesus' arm. And how much longer can I hold it back? Because we don't have the right to say yes or no to life.
Yes.
We don't.
Yeah, and what would you say to people who've had abortions? Because there might be some people in the audience who've had abortions. What would God's message be to them?
There's hope. And the people that have come to me, I've prayed with them, and the Lord has been very generous to them and told them whether it was a boy or a girl.
Yeah.
And then, if it's, say, a girl, then I'll say to the mother, what would you like to name your daughter? And they name their daughter. And then from then on, you can see them starting to relax. And yes, there's trauma that has to be prayed through, definitely. But there's a feeling that And I've even suggested going and having the baby, well, of course, the baby's no longer there, to have a priest have a ceremony for that baby.
Yeah.
And they've been able to move on with their lives
okay,
because God does forgive. He forgives. But just don't do it.
Yes.
Don't do it in the first place.
Yeah, to dedicate their baby to
Yes.
the Lord. That's
Yes.
important, isn't it?
It is. It's very important.
And that to know God's mercy never comes to an end. Because I've had a few friends who've had abortions and they've lived with a degree of guilt, but
Yes.
but what they've experienced is God's mercy and love never comes to an end.
And it's beautiful to see. So there's hope for you all.
Yes. Would you like to say a prayer, because we haven't got too much more time, but would you like to say a prayer for the audience in case anyone's had an abortion? And
Yes.
also that some people who haven't known Jesus get to know Jesus today.
Yes,
Yes.
certainly. Well, I want to start with the abortion, and that is, if you've had an abortion, you're belting yourself up. You're feeling extremely guilty. The Lord does not want that. He wants you right now to say, I'm sorry, Lord, I'm sorry I did this to one of your creatures. I'm sorry. And then we're just going to take 1 minute and just think. Ask the Lord, did I have a little boy or did I have a little girl? Now, having done that, think of a name that you would love for your child. And you know, this is a very special moment in your life. It's been a long time coming. And so therefore, just relax into that. Know that God is a forgiving God. And just with your heart now say, I'll say a little prayer and you just say amen at the end of it. Dear Jesus, you know my circumstances at the time. You know why I did this. I ask you to forgive me. Now, having time to think about it, I realise how wrong it was. Please forgive me, Lord. Forgive me.
Yes. Thank you.
And if you
so
haven't
much.
given your life to Jesus, this is the golden opportunity to do it. Believe me, your life will change and it will be for the better. So, dear Jesus,
Thank
I
you,
ask you
Lord.
to come into my heart right now, where I am, kneeling, sitting, standing. Come into my heart.
Sorry to interrupt you, Barbara, but we'll have to finish the show, but it's been a wonderful prayer, and we ask the Lord to bless all those people, and hopefully you can come back next week and continue sharing.
Yes, I'd love to do that, Geraldine.
You've been watching Spirit of Life. Tune in next week. Goodbye and God bless you.
Bring it to birth and blow where you will. Blow, blow, blow till I be but breath of the Spirit.